He's done this 1,000 times. Today, he didn't see what was behind him. There's a blind spot you never think about until it's too late. In 2002, a camera that cost $58 to install already existed. It mounted at the rear of a car and showed the driver everything behind the vehicle the moment they shifted into reverse. The US government knew it could prevent hundreds of deaths every year. They waited 16 years to make it mandatory. During those 16 years, more than 1,000 people died in driveways. Not on highways, in driveways, at walking pace, in front of their own homes. The reason it took so long has nothing to do with the technology. Someone ran the numbers, and the lives came up short. October 19th, 2002. Long Island, New York. A father gets into his sport utility vehicle, checks both side mirrors, checks the rear view mirror, and looks over his shoulder. He is a pediatrician. Keeping children safe is not just his instinct, it is his profession. He shifts into reverse. He feels a small bump. He stops. He gets out. His 2-year-old son, Cameron, is lying behind the vehicle. There is no mirror that would have shown him. Modern sport utility vehicles have a blind zone directly behind the bumper, a dead space where a small child simply does not exist until the car reaches them. Cameron was 3 feet from the bumper. Invisible. That same year, Infiniti was already selling a production car with a backup camera as standard equipment. It provided a live image of everything behind the vehicle. Those cars were sold in dealerships across the country. They were not yet required in any of them. Cameron was not alone. Every week in the United States, 50 children under the age of 15 were being hurt or killed while a car was reversing. Before the mandate, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimated 210 deaths and 15,000 injuries per year from backover crashes. 31% of those killed were children under 5. Another 26% were adults over 70. More than half of all fatalities were the people least able to get out of the way in time. Between 1990 and 2010, kidsincars.org documented 1,002 children killed in backover crashes. Each one a driveway. Each one a family that will never be the same. A law was passed. It had a legally binding deadline. And then the government missed it 3 times. In 2008, President George W. Bush signed the Cameron Gulbransen Kids in Cars Safety Act. NHTSA had a hard deadline to establish a rear visibility standard for all new vehicles, February 2011. NHTSA missed it. The draft rule was sent to OIRA, the White House Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, in November 2011. It sat there for 583 days. A new deadline was set. Missed. Another extension requested. Missed again. In June 2013, NHTSA withdrew its own draft from review entirely. Cameron's father filed a federal lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Transportation for unreasonable delay. His son had inspired a federal law, and he was suing the government to make them enforce it. The final rule came out March 31st, 2014. That was 3 years past the legal deadline. The mandate took effect May 1st, 2018. That was 16 years after a 2-year-old boy stood in a driveway on Long Island. NHTSA said they wanted the rule to be flexible and achievable. Here is what was actually happening. The Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, OIRA, ran a cost-benefit analysis. Industry-wide compliance costs were between $1.9 billion and $2.7 billion per year. The economic value assigned to the lives saved was lower. On a federal spreadsheet, the rule failed its own test. The per-vehicle cost for cars that already had a dashboard screen was $58. 58 was the figure the debate kept returning to. A Washington Post investigation found the White House had used the OIRA review process to delay costly regulations ahead of the 2012 presidential election. The auto industry lobbied for more time. Honda, meanwhile, had already installed backup cameras across its entire U.S. lineup before the mandate, voluntarily, because it was achievable. Voluntarily. On May 1, 2018, Cameron's father called it a bittersweet day, because the rule should have been in place many years earlier. bittersweet. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found backup cameras reduced the blind zone by 90%. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration projected the mandate would save 58 to 69 lives per year. 90%. The $58 camera was never the obstacle. The obstacle was a calculation that assigned a dollar value to a human life, compared that value to the cost of a small screen on a dashboard, and decided the lives were worth less. That calculation was not a mistake. It was a method, and it is still being used today, on safety rules you have never heard of, for products you use every day. The technology existed. The law had been passed. The deadline was clear, and yet it still took years. Technology. Some will say this is simply how bureaucracy works: studies, reviews, cost-benefit analysis. Complex systems move slowly. Bureaucracy. But there is another interpretation. When safety has a price, someone has to pay it. And often, the people who pay are not the ones making the decisions. Price. Do you think this was an inevitable delay, or a rational choice made by people who would never face the consequences? I am curious where you stand. Choice. A 2-year-old boy stood in a driveway. His father checked every mirror. He did everything right. And it did not matter, because the screen that would have shown him his son was in another car, in a showroom across town, available for $58. 2-year-old. That's the kind of story this channel is about. Not disasters, not explosions. The quiet moments where a small detail missing from something you use every day turns out to be the only thing that mattered. If that stays with you, there are more stories like this one here, each about something you've seen 1,000 times and never questioned. Maybe now you will.